You've been learning German for a little while. Maybe you've been using apps, learning some basic words, maybe even some grammar, but the moment you hear natives speak, it feels like a completely different language. You catch a word here and there, but overall it just sounds fast, unclear, and hard to follow. And then when you try to speak, you can say something, but it sounds a bit stiff, maybe even a bit robotic. And that's frustrating, right? Because you want to blend in. You want to feel like you can actually be part of the conversation. If that's where you are right now, this video is exactly what you need. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you 15 German phrases that natives use all the time. The kind of phrases you'll actually hear in real conversations every single day. And if we haven't met yet, hallo und herzlich willkommen. My name is Salome and I help beginners go from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to speaking and understanding real-life German with confidence. And if you want to go even further, I've put together a free guide with 100 practical phrases that natives use all the time, along with digital flashcards and audio recordings. Just comment 100 below and I'll send it to you. And before we jump in, one more quick note, these are not textbook sentences. These are the phrases natives actually use in real life every single day. So don't worry about translating everything word for word. That's not the goal here. What really matters is that you start recognizing these phrases and then using them in the right situations. All right, let's start with something super simple, but very powerful. Reactions. These alone can already help you blend in and get positive reactions from native speakers. And the first one is keine Ahnung, which means no idea. You'll hear this all the time when someone doesn't know something. For example, wann kommt der Zug? Keine Ahnung. Super simple, but very natural. Next one, passt schon, which is something like it's fine or no worries. You use this when you want to say everything is okay. For example, someone apologizes, sorry, ich bin zu spät. You can just say, passt schon. Then we have alles gut. Literally, this means everything good. In real life situations, we use this all the time to ask like, are you okay? You might say this if someone looks a bit stressed or something seems off. You can ask, alles gut? This next one I use all the time, which is genau. This means exactly. And this is actually one of my all-time favorite words. If my students turned this into a drinking game every time I said genau in a lesson, they would leave the class completely hammered every single time. And that's how often it comes up. You use it when you agree with someone or want to confirm something. For example, wohnst du in Deutschland? Genau. And this one you'll hear all the time as well, which is echt, meaning really. You'll hear this constantly in conversations when someone is surprised. For example, ich ziehe nach Berlin. Was, echt? And you can see these are very small phrases, but they come up all the time in everyday conversation, and using them makes you sound so much more natural. Now this next part, this is where most learners are missing something. German natives use these tiny words that are hard to translate or can't be translated at all the time to structure what they're saying, to react, to soften things, and that's a big part of what makes German sound natural. Let's start with this first one, also, which means something like so or well. You'll hear this all the time at the beginning of a sentence when someone is about to say something or transition from a situation. For example, also, ich gehe jetzt. Or, also, was machen wir heute? Next is another little word we use all the time, na ja, which is like well or kind of. You use this when you're not completely sure or you want to soften what you're saying. Like for example, na ja, ich weiß nicht. Or, na ja, das ist halt so. The next phrase you can use to ask for confirmation or general feedback. Weißt du? This one helps you keep the conversation flowing and makes you sound much more natural. For example, das ist irgendwie komisch, weißt du? Or, es ist nicht immer einfach, weißt du? Now this next one is also very common. Mal schauen. Mal schauen. This is the German way to not give a clear yes or no. For example, if someone asks you, kommst du mit? And you're not quite sure yet, you can just say, mal schauen. Or here is another example. Mal schauen, wie das Wetter am Wochenende wird. Now this next word is small but mighty. The word mal. There is no direct translation, but it softens what you're saying and makes it sound less direct. For example, warte mal. You could also just say warte. It would mean exactly the same thing, but by adding mal, you're adding this little softening nuance to it. Here is another example. Komm mal her. We call these modal particles, and the whole purpose of modal particles is adding an emotion or a nuance to a sentence. Another very common example for that is ja. Now, this doesn't always mean yes. As a modal particle, it's used more like you know or as you know, like something that both people understand, something that you agree that this is common knowledge. Like for example here, das ist ja klar, or du bist ja schon hier, like adding this surprised nuance here. And this is again really important to understand. These modal particles don't change the meaning of your sentence that much, but they add nuances and emotions to a sentence. And if you're starting to notice you want more of these kinds of phrases that you will actually need in real conversations and not just random vocabulary, and you want to go deeper with this, I've put together a free guide with 100 of the most useful everyday phrases for beginners, along with digital flashcards and audio recordings. Just comment 100 below and I'll send you the link to download them completely for free. All right, let's move on to the next group. Next, we're going to take a look at phrases you'll actually use in real life situations. These are the ones you'll need when you're making plans, reacting to people, or just going about your day. The first one is Ich bin dabei, which means I'm in. You use this when you agree to something or want to join. For example, Wir gehen heute Abendessen. Kommst du mit? Ja, ich bin dabei. And this next one is also very common. I've actually said it a few times already in some examples, which is Kommst du mit? Are you coming along? You'll hear this all the time when someone invites you to somewhere. For example, Wir gehen heute Abend ins Kino. Kommst du mit? Then this next one we'll use a lot as well, which is Ich mach das kurz. I'll do that quickly. This is very common in everyday situations, especially at work or when you're busy. And one more important note here on the E at the end of the verb. In written German, you'll always add an E when you're using the first person singular, so ich or I. But in spoken German, we almost never pronounce it when we're speaking fast. For example here, Ich ruf dich später an, ich mach das kurz fertig. Yeah, so the E at the verb is often not pronounced when we're speaking fast, but in written German, you'll need to add it. Here is the next one. Ich bin gleich da. Super useful when you're running a bit late or you're on your way. Like for example, your friends are asking you, Wo bist du? You can say, Ich bin gleich da. And this one you'll need very often as well. Lass uns das machen. Like, let's do that. You use it when you suggest or agree on a plan. For example, machen wir am Wochenende einen Ausflug? Ja, lass uns das machen. So these are the kinds of phrases that come up in your daily life all the time with friends, at work, running errands. And there is one really important thing I want you to take away from this. Don't just watch this and move on and never use these phrases again. Actually use what you've learned today, because this is where real progress happens. Your brain needs active recall and real life usage to move things into your long-term memory. If you just watch and never use it, you'll forget it. But if you use it, it sticks. So don't let this be just another YouTube video you watch without taking action. I get asked all the time, like, how do you build confidence in speaking a language? And it starts exactly here. Small everyday interactions where you use simple phrases like these and slowly build proof that you can do this. That's how confidence grows. Not overnight, but step by step. And if you want more phrases that you can start using right away, for example, greetings, ordering food, navigating life, just comment 100 below and I'll send you my free guide with 100 practical phrases you can start using today. And if you're still struggling with building your own sentences from scratch and you want to understand simple sentence patterns step by step, watch this video next where I break it down in a very easy to understand way. Das ist alles für heute. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!